For the latest in strategic affairs, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click the bell icon for updates.
Hello and welcome to The Gist on Strat News Global. I'm Sunil Gangadharan. Good evening and welcome to another edition of The Gist. I have with me this evening Nivruti Rai. She's the head of Invest India, a government-backed body which is seeking to bring investment into India, ensure a return for those who invest in this country, and is looking at a whole lot of areas including trade and R&D. So we're going to talk about some of these issues with Nivruti. So welcome, glad to have you.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be able to talk to you.
Thank you. Nivruti, you were in the US recently, so let's cut straight to the chase.
Okay.
What is the thinking in the US among investors there about India? Is it changing? Are they positive? What's your sense?
So, Surya, a very good question. I'll tell you, the relationship and trust between India and US have never been better. They were always good, cordial. We called ourselves as two largest democracies. But honestly, the soul in that relationship was missing. And now we have the soul back in that relationship. And why? Because there are many things happening. One easy thing is geopolitics that everybody can understand, and it's happening. It happened because of the wars. It happened because, a specific country, but that everybody knows. The other thing that also everybody knows is, a lot of technology advancements. I was so happy to say in one of those, conclaves that I attended, that India demonstrated its leadership because of G20. India demonstrated its technical might with this moon mission and now solar mission. Third, I really, really hope India demonstrates its sports leadership and win back the World Cup. So whether it's, technology, whether it's leadership, whether it's sports, or even entertainment, to think of, our movie and the songs getting an Oscar. India has arrived on the scene and everybody knows about it. The third thing that I must say that people were not very clear on is, yes, they knew the GDP was growing at one of the largest rates. What they did not know is the middle class is burgeoning to an extent that over the last 10 years, Surya, our middle class has, just 10 years, doubled the disposable income that they're spending. So India has shown its technology leadership, India has shown entertainment leadership, India is showing tremendously a growing market. So people believe that India is ready and on the world map to play the game with the world. And lastly, that I had to remind many of these companies that India will never do an IP leak like happened with ARM. India is a trustworthy nation that you can count on for your IP, and it's really, really critical, especially in the space of sensitive technologies that are required in defense. So, all of that compounded has made our relationship better than I have ever seen.
So how would you look at investment as such, Is it more than what it was? Do you expect it will go up? What are those trends that you're looking at?
Absolutely. I really think it will grow. Has it started? Yes. I would say more than ever in terms of belief in India and investment, like, Micron for its assembly test manufacturing plant. I'm really excited. It's the beginning. And so what that, they are leveraging our incentive. We have to match in terms of what are the other options with countries. So India has to stand up tall, and our incentives are able to do that. The next is, in those sectors, how do we build leadership? We will build leadership by bringing suppliers to those companies, incentivizing suppliers, creating the market, building demand aggregation, not just for India, but for the globe. So I do believe the investment is going to significantly increase. I can even say a number. My belief is by 2030, our partnership in terms of number of companies, in terms of quantum of dollars, will at least triple.
Would you like to give a figure?
Nope, I won't like to give a figure. However, I will say that our dream for our country is 10 trillion by 2030. It's 3x.
Yeah.
And we will contribute in terms of investment from nations like United States significantly more than ever. And I took a stab and I said 3x.
So, which are the areas or sectors where you see this kind of money coming in?
Yes. So when you look at, the dependence on one or two countries, you will see manufacturing is an area, and whether it's electronics products, whether it is semiconductors, any white good, there's a lot of dependence on, one or two countries. And every company is looking at what they're calling it as a second sourcing. Second sourcing for manufacturing. So I'm really excited about, companies that are building these products like, IoT devices, sensors, cameras, all the way to we talked about assembly test manufacturing for semiconductor. I'm also looking at, building blocks people require for laptops, desktops. So I'm trying to attract those companies. I'm also trying to say, okay, you are a product. And there's a bill of material, and there's a raw material at the end. It could be gases, it could be chemicals, it could be, iron and steel sheets versus wires and a lot of forging required from these, including plastics. So I'm saying I want to attract the bottom of your bill of materials such that I make your investment easier. I told you as for my introduction, I am really looking forward to investment into India and from India, but I'm also looking at return from India and for India. So to enable returns, I have to think of the investor as if I was the investor, and what are the things, the ecosystem that I need to build, whether it is supplier, whether it's raw material, whether it's supplier, essentially supply chain, policies, incentives, fund of funds. I'm looking at all of this, including R&D and technology, because I really feel that our role, with our startup innovating, no longer just software for e-retail, but they are everywhere. We heard, Principal Scientific Advisor Ajay Sood talk about quantum.
Yeah.
Literally, a simplest way to explain quantum communication is, 5G enables 10x lower latency. My belief is quantum computing and quantum connectivity will make you feel that connectivity is at the speed of light. So if startups are looking at these cutting edge technologies, I'm thinking, how can our startups contribute towards optimization, efficiency, cost reduction, differentiation in manufacturing? So I'm saying, how do I help with the return? Through incentives, easy, but that incentive is a short term.
Yeah.
Through making our companies more competitive, through R&D partnership, with academia, with JVs, and thirdly, opening our MSMEs and startups to leverage their innovation for an investment that is being made. So I'm looking at all powers that enable return, whether it's government, whether it's academicians, whether it's startups, whether they are, industries. How can we leverage our might in all of these areas, including the strength of our people in terms of numbers, to drive the return of our own investment or return of somebody else's investment while creating value for humanity?
Is there skepticism about India's policies, because the outside investor is looking at permanence,
Yes.
some direction over the next decade or so.
Yes.
Is that an issue with us?
Yes. So Surya, I told you that I'm going to be very, very candid. And I look at this area clearly as an opportunity for improvement. And we will. Yesterday, I was with Minister Piyush Goyal, who I am part of, their ministry. What I absolutely love, and I came from private sector 30 years, never worked with government, but it is so satisfying, I would say, to hear a minister like Piyush Goyal talk about, tell me what your needs are. Yesterday we were talking to trade and, there were lots of EPCs over there. He's saying, tell me what your problem is. Tell me how can I make trade better, both in terms of export and import. And very willing to look at how we can drive change. So I'll tell you, I'm trying to draw suppliers, or let's say laptops, desktops, or even servers. I was in US and there was a need from a certain company. I had took the liberty to phone call him, and I said, this is a critical need for this company and we cannot delay. Believe me, he gave me an ETA. He said, we will do it in less than 48 hours. I mean, the hunger for India to improve in areas where we are willing to learn. I'll tell you, I told the US companies and people, even the diaspora, we are actually the best learners. We have not been in manufacturing, we learn. Because we have not been in manufacturing, we have not built policies for like semiconductor manufacturing, but we are learning. Yeah. So tell us what your need is. We are going to be competitive in terms of, what other countries are offering. We're going to be competitive in terms of technology. We're going to safeguard your technology, and we're going to figure out how to support you in all these different ways, whether it is fiduciary, whether it's technology, whether it's, policy. So yes, I did hear skepticism in terms of, I worry that you don't have the most amenable policies. I also worry that your policies are not stable. I also worry that, with the change of government, these policies will change. So we are addressing and we are looking at learning. We are looking at changing and optimizing for the need. But we have to safeguard our nation's interest. And we are doing it in such a way that, yes, we are creating a negotiation window, but such that we come to a win-win situation. That's what I clearly heard from Minister Piyush Goyal, and I'm very excited about, helping drive that agenda for him.
You talked about semiconductors.
Yes.
From what we read, it's a kind of an uphill battle. I mean, I know Micron has come and there's an ecosystem slowly developing.
Yes.
But how do you see the road ahead for semiconductors?
It is challenging just for the reason that the CapEx investment is huge. The complexity of building a fab is huge. The requirements are massive in terms of the land requirement, in terms of, stable power supply, in terms of, industrial grade water. All of this are known, but we also need to have demand aggregation.
Yeah.
We also need to have ability to manufacture not just for our local demand, for our global demand. But I'll tell you, do I see it happening? Oh, absolutely yes. Why didn't it happen before? It didn't happen before because I think the convergence of technologies, the requirements are so important now like never before. Mm-hmm. We just came from the defense conflict. We are still part of it. But the need of semiconductor for safety, security is so critical, like never before. So now there's no option. We have to build it. How do we build it? Build a supplier ecosystem. To build a fab, like I said, you need simple things like helium, simple things like chlorine, simple things like sheet metal, many such things, forging from aluminum, plastic, whatever. We need, semiconductors, we need silicon, ingot. So we are looking at all possible suppliers and trying to draw them in. Now the first is always hard because first has to trust that yes, we are building. So Micron trusted us and we will ensure. So like I said, I am committed to not just draw investment, but the return. So if Micron is here, who are the suppliers that Micron needs?
Yeah.
Are they in the proximity? Is there any import that's a must? Some of these equipments
Has to come from outside. Yeah.
has to come from outside. Is there a bilateral partnership, with EU? EU is so strong in equipment. And there is this development corridor for startups that we have signed an MOU for with Japan. We have an MOU with the United States. So we are going to leverage companies, countries, and ensure that Micron has the least risk. And we will ensure Micron succeeds, because success is the best, a spokesperson for India. And I think our nation, whether it's from government, whether it's from, industries like us, are committed to basically remove the hurdles, whether it's in IP, whether it's in raw materials, whether it's in fabless designs, whether it's, getting the fabless designs to be incubated through startups. So we will leverage all levers to make sure, Micron is successful, and then draw many more. Micron is the beginning. And we are looking at, many of our local companies like, Tata trying to do things. Look at, the recent acquisitions that, Reliance and Tata are trying to make in these areas. So I'm very excited about, we are getting ready as a nation. We are getting ready as a startup. We are getting ready as an R&D hub. We are preparing ourselves for the funds with incentives, taxations, and duties. So it's hard, but we'll do it. And, one of my sponsors used to say, if it was easy, anybody could have done it. Because it's complex, we are doing it. And we have the capability. We just landed on moon.
So there's this issue of R&D.
Yes.
India's spending on R&D is amongst the lowest in the world.
Yes.
Although we do have good people here who are involved in R&D.
Yes.
Usually for other firms.
Yes.
How are we tackling this?
Very good question. So yes, our investment is lesser. And it is based on the priorities the country has. We have many other very critical tasks to take care of. How do we address that? We address that with partnership. We address that with what I called collective intelligence. I therefore mentioned the bilaterals, the multilaterals. I really think we need to work together. And like I said, I was just in the US. I reached out to the Indian diaspora. And I said, how can we work together? We have common dreams. You're sitting in US, working for US companies, but US dream is also larger good, humanitarian good. Let's partner, energize them to work together. When I talk to companies, see, the exciting part, Surya, is we are in the game with the market, with our technology demonstration, with our software, and with our people and scale. So every company I talked to, I said, here is a win-win proposition. So I already have companies and countries agreeing to the common good and common goals. So I really feel, yes, our investment is lower. We will increase as our GDP grows to 3x. Our per capita will also increase, and our investment will increase. But till then, the world is out there trying to do similar things. So there is a piece of a pie I'm working on. I want to add many pies from others who have the common goal and create the common good and leverage that.
So, there's this entire debate about how a lot of the investment from overseas is actually going perhaps away from China towards Vietnam, Indonesia. Yes. India, in that sense, is a bit of a way down the ladder.
Yes.
How do you see this?
Yes. My thought, completely my thought, I really believe that Vietnam and Thailand are good. We are studying as Invest India, what are they offering as countries? Like I said, we have to be competitive as what the country is offering. And that's why we are building our incentives and very looking at, tell us, what is the policy you want? So that's one part of it. The second part of it is, how do I make ourselves more attractive in terms of segment? So for that segment, you talked about semiconductor. How would you draw more suppliers to come in? To get the suppliers to come in, we have to look at how can I create business for those suppliers, not just for semiconductor, but this industrial water is used so many places. This cleaning of the environmental gas is used in so many places. So we are trying to create a win-win strategy for the suppliers to come in. So when the suppliers are coming in, it's, a crawl, walk, run, and it's like, climbing up the ladder. So we are looking at segment competitiveness. We are looking at country competitiveness to make investment easier. And I really believe with the scale we have, no other country stands. If we address the sector and country competitiveness, I do not think we are less. In fact, we are much more than any of these countries that you talk about. They do not have scale.
So when, you look at the Indian ecosystem and how it's developing, and why has it taken it so long to reach this point? Because these are very common sense things that are happening, They could have happened 10 years ago, 20 years ago. What is the problem? Is it a lack of thinking?
Can I answer? See, you are asking what is the problem, which is the glass half empty. Can I answer the glass half full? What is different now?
Yeah.
Okay. What is different now is convergence of technologies. So in the past, people have been talking about AI for 50 years.
Yeah.
Turing. I just mentioned in my quote that Turing came up with anti-enigma during World War II.
Yeah.
What happened now? Because compute is getting so much faster, because connectivity like 5G is 10x lower latency, because battery technology can enable your phone to not be charged for days, is now. So you'll see convergence of these technologies coming together to drive many of the use cases that we could not dream before. Second thing is, I really think our government completely understands that technology is the might that can catapult India to play in the game that these bigger, more mature nations are playing. And we've demonstrated that. With the Jam Trinity, I am able to use my digital wallet to pay a vendor on the street buy amrud, guavas. He has a digital wallet too.
Yeah.
So technology with fintech and software, we have demonstrated. We've demonstrated our moon mission and our attempt toward, the Lagrangian 1 and solar mission. We've demonstrated many of the technologies in the defense space. So I really feel time is now. And I really love what our Prime Minister says. He says, Abhi samay hai, sahi samay hai. So therefore, I'd like to answer your half full glass, which is why now. Government understands. Therefore, policies and all of these incentives are being created. Technology is coming together. The geopolitics is favoring us. That's a tailwind. अपने आप ही बढ़ रहे हैं. So अपने आप बढ़ रहे हैं, कोशिश करके बढ़ रहे हैं. हमको मदद मिल रही है इंडस्ट्री से, स्टार्टअप से, सरकार से. So समय अभी सही है. I'm convinced. And, the iron is hot and we've got to strike it the hardest we can.
So last question, big picture, 10 years down the line, what would you expect to see, assuming we get our act together, we utilize this window properly?
I can say just one thing. I am tired of hearing India is a developing nation.
Yeah.
Developing nation for so long. I mean, I was in school, I was in college, I am 30 years with Intel. I am a developed nation. And I don't want to be a GDP of $2,000. I want to be more than the world average. I want nobody to suffer and die because health treatment was not available. I want our children to be educated. And all of that happens. I don't want anybody to be hungry. All of that happens when we are a developed nation.
Absolutely.
So the one line, my goal is 10 years from now, We are a developed nation.
Great note to end on. Nivruti Rai,
Thank you.
lovely talking to you.
Likewise.
Thank you
Love
very
to
much.
talk to you.
That's all we have for you on The Gist tonight. Do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on social media. Thank you very much. Good night.